On today's episode, we jump back to 2013, talk about the anniversary of 3 films today. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Almost Sideways Movie Podcast. My name is Adam. These are my daily notes where I have fun conversations about films. I'm really excited for today's episode because we have 2 first-time watches in the films starring Matthew McConaughey called Mud, and also a first-time watch of a Coen Brothers film, Inside Llewyn Davis. Also going back and revisiting a film by Denis Villeneuve. Going to be a challenge to say his last name correctly today. We will do our best college try today. But we're going to go back and revisit Prisoner, starring Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm really excited for today's episode, like I always am. I hope you guys are also enjoying it. We are seeing some great growth on our YouTube channel, so if you haven't already, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe here to our channel. And if you would like full rundowns of other shows and fun conversations to have, extra content, if you will, we also have a podcast. Make sure you guys find us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora, Anchor, wherever you type in Almost Sideways Movie Podcast. That's where you can find us. On the other services as well. Keep in mind too, this episode is being dropped on the 18th of February. So make sure you guys come back tomorrow if you guys are listening to it on podcast or whatever. We are doing an award show, the Almost Sideways Movie Award Show here on YouTube. We are going live at 3 p.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time, folks. 3 p.m. We're going to be going live that day to talk about our Almost Sideways Movie Awards. Now, we wanted to do something different than the Oscars. We like the Oscars. We watch them every single year. We talk about them. We have several videos on the channel about the Oscars. But we wanted to have our own little spin on things, too. We will have 6 big main categories that the Oscars will have. Like pictures already kind of decided already, but we're doing a little homage. The acting categories and screenplay categories will also be talked about on the episode. But we're also going to go into our own little categories like we have in our deep dives, like minor character. We have stickman, douchebag, punchable face of the year. Movie death is something new. I'm going to call it the Sean Bean Memoriam. In memoriam for movie death. Really excited for a bunch of the fun categories. It should be a lively conversation. Make sure you guys are active in the comments section or the live chat, because I feel like there's 4 of us. We may need some help from you guys as well to decide who actually wins this thing. So anyway, that's enough of that little plug there. Let's jump into today's episode, and we're going to kick it off with Denis Villeneuve's film Prisoners. Denis Villeneuve did a film 10 years ago called Prisoners, starring Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. So let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to Almost Sideways, a place for movie conversations. My name is Adam, and today's conversation should be an interesting one. We are talking about Denis Villeneuve's film Prisoners that came out 10 years ago, so it's celebrating its 10th anniversary. It came out in 2013. This film stars Jake Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman, Viola Davis, a big A-list cast. We'll get into it in a second. So anyway, before we get started, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube, and make sure you guys are active in that comment section. Let me know what you guys thought of Prisoners, because I can't have a good conversation without you guys in the comments section. I do respond to the comments, so make sure you guys give it a thumbs up, like, share, all that fun stuff, and comment. That's how we can grow here. So anyway, Prisoners, directed by Denis Villeneuve, is one of his first big prominent films. I know he had another film that did get Oscar nominated for international film. And the name does escape me at the moment. But Prisoners was one of the films that I really the director's name really got to my brought to my forefront and my thoughts, and that's Denis Villeneuve. Prisoners is a really kind of gritty thriller film, and with some really great performances too. So I'm really looking forward to diving in and having a good conversation with you guys. I haven't watched this movie a lot longer than I thought I had. I thought I'd seen it pretty recently, but going back and rewatching it this last week, there was parts of it I clearly do not remember. So I'm really intrigued to talk about it here today. So anyway, Let's start it. Let's start it up. Prisoners is rated R, and it has a 2 hour and 33-minute runtime. It has an A-list cast led by Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, Viola Davis, Terrence Howard, Melissa Leo shows up here, Maria Bello, and let's not forget Paul Dano. Really stacked cast. Everybody is somebody in this film. It seems like. This film was also written by Aaron Gazowski, and I'm pulling a lot of my information off of IMDb, so a lot of the stuff's coming from there. So the film primarily follows Hugh Jackman's character of Keller Dover here. We see his daughter as well as the daughter's friend, whose parents are Terrence Howard and Viola Davis. The two girls essentially get kidnapped by some mysterious person. There's a big theory that this RV that was parked down the road whoever was in that RV did take the two young girls. We don't know as an audience member who exactly did what, but we have great suspicions that whoever's in that RV did take the two girls. We follow Keller Dover as he goes about whatever means necessary to unravel the mystery and the truth of where his daughter and her friend are, and takes matters into his own hands. We also have a great parallel where we see Detective Loki, which is played by Jake Gyllenhaal. He follows leads, pursues different situations and suspects as well, and going to questioning, and he's battling his own demons about this case as well. And pressure begins to mount, not just from the time as it's slipping away, because the further away you get from a person being taken, the more unlikely the outcome is going to be positive for you. So trying to quickly work and try to uncover all these different things as layers are peeled back into this kind of a really good psychological thriller. What Denis Villeneuve does really great here is he basically makes this really interesting true crime drama that slowly unravels right before your eyes. Hugh Jackman does a really great job giving us this really passionate performance as Keller Dover. As a follower myself, I can totally relate to this character as somebody that is going to the ends of the world, the ends of the earth, rather, to find the daughters that he had lost, that was taken from him. And I would probably be, at least in my head, I would probably do the same thing he was doing to get my daughters back as well. A really passionate performance that I feel like is kind of underrated for the Hugh Jackman filmography. And obviously, he got nominated for a couple of different things, but Prisoners is kind of an overlooked film performance. I feel it's a really great job. There's some really intense scenes between him and who he thinks did this crime, which is Paul Dano. Paul Dano is on a different level here. He is definitely more subdued, and he's playing this person who his name is in this film, Alex Jones. And there's more to his character that does meet the eye, but Paul Dano brings something different. You are very unsure when you see him at first, and you're unsure as the runtime going, and especially the interactions between Hugh Jackman and I guess Terrence Howard does get involved in some of the interactions with him as well. But primarily Hugh Jackman and Paul Dano's dynamic here is very unsettling at times, and it's very interesting as the film time keeps going, where you start to draw the line between I want to get my answers, but you also have that human side inside of you that draws some sympathy towards the Alex Jones character. And I think Paul Dano, I can't picture anybody else doing that. It's such a high war performance. And I think Paul Dano, you could say that about any of his performances. It's one of the, he's just such a talented actor that gets overlooked so much by the awards circuit here. Obviously, I thought that he should have been nominated for an Oscar for The Fablemans. Even The Batman, he was fantastic in both of those movies this last year. Got overlooked by the awards circuit here. I think another overlooked actor in Hollywood has Ben Foster, but he is not in this movie, so we're not going to talk about him today. So great performances by Terrence Howard and Viola Davis here as well. They don't have a ton to do, but it is kind of interesting to see Amanda Waller from Suicide Squad and Viola Davis as we get to War Machine, or air quotes, War Machine and Terror. There's a lot of superhero actors in this movie. Let's just put it that way. We don't need to dive into it. The one actress that I didn't see get a whole lot of screen time, that's I think is kind of a negative, is Maria Bello here. She plays Grace Dover, Hugh Jackman's wife. She's kind of in a state of panic. Obviously, her daughter was taken, but she's the one that takes it the hardest. She's goes to heavy drugs, but like painkillers to try to numb the pain, and sleeping meds to put her to sleep too. So that's way she can kind of sleep through all the different crises that does happen. It's a character that I'm not a huge Maria Bello fan. I think part of that is because the Mummy 3 didn't, with the Tomb of whatever that third mummy was. I'm not a huge fan of her, but I think she does bring something here, but she doesn't have a whole lot to do with the movie. So it's kind of a negative for me, even though the performance is okay. Detective Loki here, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. I really liked what he was able to bring to this character. He is definitely a person that I feel has a conflicted past, and I would really love to see another dive into this world and follow Detective Loki on another case. I think that would be a very interesting film, seeing a Prisoners 2, not necessarily Prisoners 2, but following Detective Loki on another case, because I feel like this world that Denis Villeneuve has created is very intriguing. There's a lot of griminess to it, especially with some of the things that do unravel with Alex Jones's character. And I think that we also need to go into and talk about Marissa Leo here. A shocking performance by Melissa Leo. She's got a lot of makeup on here because she plays the grandmother, the aunt of Alex Jones. She plays Holly Jones here. Melissa Leo is kind of underrated. She doesn't have a whole lot to do here either, but there's some really interesting dynamics that her character does do. I really liked seeing a lot of her performance here. She's just a really talented actress here. Also, some other big name. There's some other recognizable faces do pop up here. We do David Dastmalchian. I do not know how to pronounce that, but David Dastmalchian plays Bob Taylor here. We've seen him from like the Ant-Man movies too, but in The Dark Knight, he's a really good actor too. When he props up on the screen, something strange and mysterious is going on. So definitely keep an eye out for that if you haven't seen it in a long time. Also, Dylan Minnette shows up here, as well as Ralph Dover, the son of Hugh Jackman's character here. Really fine performance there, but nothing like super crazy. Just another recognizable face. I think some of the really strong points of the movie is the writing by Aaron Gasowski. He has a really way of building this world and the scope, and I think that his writing pairs really well with Denis Villeneuve's direction. And I really loved how they were able to tell the story in a really beautiful way that makes this world feel dark and grimy as well. And as the mystery slowly unravels, it keeps you on the edge of your seat. Now, like I said, I have seen this movie before, but I thought I remembered a lot more of it, and I really still enjoyed it. I don't know if I think it is as good as I remember it being, because I feel like the ending is frustrating, to say the least. However, it doesn't really take away from the film itself. I still think this is a 3.5-star film. If the ending was a little better, I don't know. I think the ending, it makes sense where the ending, what happens with the ending. I just maybe don't like the ending, so maybe that's why I'm kind of hesitant giving it 4 stars. But I digress there. It is a really interesting, awesome crime thriller that if you haven't seen Prisoners before, you guys should definitely go check it out and track this movie down. Let's go down to the box office here, talk about all that. The film actually came out September 20th, 2013. The budget for the movie is $46 million. It made $122 million. So that's to say that. It made a lot of money at the box office. It's a really great movie, too. I believe it has 1 nomination for Oscars. I think this movie is far better than the Oscars were really giving it. It was nominated for Best Cinematography, which definitely deserving. I thought the cinematography was shot beautifully, definitely blended into the story and the world really well. The Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films also gave this a Best Makeup win, actually. It nominated it for Best Thriller and Best Supporting Actress in Melissa Leo. There you go. Alliance Women Film Journalists also gave this a nominee for Richard Deakins for cinematography, which that makes sense. Roger Deakins as a cinematographer that always gets nominated for everything. They didn't win till Blade Runner. So there we go. A lot of other nominations for Roger Deakins here. Why don't I want to say Richard? There we go. Award Circuit Community Awards. The nominee for Best Actor in a Supporting role was Jake Gyllenhaal there too. A lot of overlook for Hugh Jackman. Not really seeing anything. There we go. There's the Dublin Film Critics Circle Awards. Did nominate Hugh Jackman there. as well as Aaron Gazowski for screenplay. So really interesting stuff. But anyway, what did you guys think of Prisoners that came out in 2013, directed by Denis Villeneuve? Did you guys like this movie as much as I did? I thought this was a really great revisit. Thoroughly enjoyed this movie from start to finish. I want the ending to maybe work a little bit more in my favorite, but I totally understand where it ends up there. All right, that's my quick take on Prisoners. Really solid film there. But now let's go to the Coen Brothers film, Inside Llewyn Davis. Oscar Issac starred in a Coen Brothers movie called Inside Llewyn Davis. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to Almost Sideways, a place for movie conversations. My name is Adam, and today's conversation is going to be about a Coen Brothers film called Inside Llewyn Davis, starring Oscar Issac. I'm really excited for this one because I've never seen this. It's a first-time watch for me, and I'm really intrigued to hear your guys' takes on this. So before we get started, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube. If you guys are wanting more content and want to hear full episodes that are not just this one little review, but a full bigger episode, make sure you guys check out our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and Pandora, where you can hear my episodes as well as Terry, Zach, and Todd as well. Really excited for today's episode. Inside Llewyn Davis. Never seen it before. Coen Brothers really do a lot of good work in their films. I've seen a lot of good Coen Brothers movies. I don't know why I missed out on this one. As I was watching Inside Llewyn Davis the other day, I got completely engrossed in the world that these filmmakers have created. So let's dive into this conversation here. This movie is an hour and 44 minutes long, and it is rated R, which I was kind of shocked that it is rated R for some reason. I wasn't expecting that, but it is a drama, and it has a lot of great music in it too. The synopsis here on IMDb states it's a week in the life of a young singer as he navigates the Greenwich Village folk scene of 1961. So immediately right there, based off a synopsis, it puts me in a time and place that I've never been in, don't know too much about, so immediately gets me invested there. And being a first time watch, I never watched it. I can't remember if I ever seen a trailer, and I never read that synopsis before until then. And I'm not 100% sure based off that synopsis if that's something I would be kind of interested in. I think what really would get me invested in here, and especially that's one reason why I'm doing this episode, is because it's the Coen Brothers. It's Oscar Isaac starring, so it's talent that has piqued my interest over the course of my life. This movie also stars Oscar Isaac, of course, as Llewyn Davis. Also a really good performance by Carey Mulligan here. One of my favorites. I really liked her in Promising Young Woman. I think we do have a review up on the channel, so make sure you guys check that review up there. Also, John Goodman shows up. Garrett Hedlund shows up. Justin Timberlake. We have a performance from Adam Driver very briefly, and a very weird performance there. Stark Sands shows up. There's a lot of other little talented actors that do pump up here. Again, this is directed by the Coen Brothers and is also written by the Coens as well. Weirdly, though, it says here directed by Ethan Coen and Joel Coen on IMDb. And it says written by Joel Coen and Ethan Coen. They kind of swapped them. I'm not 100% sure it's interesting, but I need this to say. What I really love about this movie is that you follow this up-and-coming singer, Oscar Isaac, and it is told in a way that can't help but keep your interest and keep your focus to the screen. I have a habit of sometimes keeping notes as I'm watching movies, and I kind of maybe lose my focus a little bit on the screen, but I was glued to the screen as this movie progressed the runtime. And Oscar Isaac has my attention a lot of the time when I'm seeing his movies. But I feel like the Coen Brothers really got me invested in this world. This is unlike anything really that I have seen them do. Obviously, I think they're known for the comedies like Burn After Reading, which, funnily enough, we did just drop a review for that, so check that out. I guess the one that isn't really a comedy is No Country for Old Men that I really love. That's a top 100 movie for me. And obviously, they have a really good way of making these comedies, these dark humor comedies, but also like really good dramatical works that are engaging and keeps your attention. And I'm watching Llewyn Davis and this cat, and as he journeys from place to place to different homes that he has to stay in, to different venues that he's performing at, and completely engaged in this performance in this world in Greenwich Village of 1961. It's really interesting to see these different characters interact and seeing the confliction between Carey Mulligan and Oscar Isaac as they're having their back and forth conversation about a possible pregnancy. And obviously, Carey Mulligan's with a different man played by Justin Timberlake, and seeing the dynamics between the three of them is really interesting. And seeing Justin Timberlake in this, he kind of lights up the room, and he's one of the more positive characters in the whole movie, where everybody else is kind of more dark and cynical. Really had this really awesome sequence with John Goodman here that got me a little annoyed by the character of Goodman, but also is like I wanted to hear more what he had to say. It was kind of really interesting there. Garrett Hedlund plays Johnny Five, the driver of John Goodman here. He has not really much to do, but it's interesting to see him there. But Adam Driver is the interesting one. Obviously, we know him. We love Adam Driver here on the channel, and he plays Al Cody. He is one of the guys that does lend his house for Llewyn Davis' estate, but he also is introduced in this trio band. I guess they throw together with Justin Timberlake and Adam Driver, and then they invite Oscar Isaac, Llewyn Davis character, to sing this one song. He has some really funny dialogue there. He has some really funny vocal talent that he adds to this track. Really great scene. If we were doing a top scenes of this year, 2013, that might have to be up there as a top scene for me. It's at least in the conversation. Really funny stuff there with wow. Anyway, I don't know the whole song, but it's funny to hear Adam Driver do these little melodies here. Some things that I wanted to kind of expand more was I kind of wanted this movie to be a little longer. You know, it plays really well, an hour 45. I wanted to see like more of the dynamic between this family he does stay with, that because Oscar Isaac's character Llewyn Davis was had a partner where he was an act with another singer who, as we slowly find out, he committed suicide by jumping off of the George Washington Bridge, which I don't understand why you would do the jump off the George Washington Bridge. You would jump off the Brooklyn Bridge. But anyway, it was interesting to see the dynamic there. Maybe I get a flashback of their time singing together would have been kind of interesting, but maybe that would change the vibe of the movie. But the big highlight of this whole entire film experience was hearing these amazing songs that I kind of wanted to download on my phone, which after this review, after I'm done recording, I'm definitely going to download some of these songs on my phone and listen to them because they're really good melodies. And yeah, they're folk songs. That's really not the genre of music that I really listen to or resonate with. But there's something about maybe the talent involved and Oscar Isaac singing these songs that got me into it. And I really enjoyed this movie. Out of the couple movies I've done first time watches with, I think this is one of my favorites. I don't know if it's my favorite of the year first time watch that is yet, but it's definitely up there. And I gotta say, this is an easy 3.5 star film for me. It's really so close from 4 stars. I think maybe if I watch this again, I'm giving this 4 stars. But Inside Llewyn Davis, such an awesome, powerful film that from the Coen Brothers. I really liked this one a lot. This one really resonated with me. Let's dive in here. It came out January 10th, 2014. So it got a wide release in the 2014, but I believe it also, let's see here. I think it got a limited release in the States here. I'm trying to find, a film festival in 2013. A couple little AFI film festivals in November. I think this was definitely a limited run film in 2013 because it says United States January 10th, 2014. So still qualified for the Oscars that year, which I did get a couple of nominations there. But let's go to this box office. The budget for the movie was $11 million. It made $32.9 million. It did make its budget back and more. I think a lot of that had to do with the Coen Brothers and getting some of the award love and praise. I do remember back at a time 10 years ago that they were saying that Oscar Isaac was snubbed for the Oscar, which I feel like he deserves to be nominated at some point rather soon. So let's go into the awards here. It was nominated for 2 Oscars, Best Achievement in Cinematography. It went up against Roger Deakins in Prisoners, so we do know that already. I did not win there, but it also got Achievement in Sound Mixing, which is not a category anymore. That's just sound editing. But only 2 nominations there for the Oscars. Also got a couple nominations at the BAFTAs, Best Original Screenplay for the Coens, Best Cinematography, and Best Sound. No wins there either. Did it win anything? You got a Okay, the AFI Awards, it did win for Movie of the Year. Alliance of Women in Film Journalists also gave this a winner for Best Film Score. A couple nominations here. They nominated Oscar Isaac here, and they nominated the Best Director for the Coens. A lot of nominations. I don't see a whole lot of wins, though. There's a winner. Boston Society of Film Critics, Best Use of Music in a Film. That was the only nomination there, but one. Not a whole lot of wins, but a really solid film here. Anyway, what did you guys think of Inside Llewyn Davis? That's my quick thoughts and takes on the film. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I cannot wait to revisit this one. I definitely need to pick up the criterion of this movie and dive into the superlatives on the disc there, too. All right, well, that's my quick takes on Inside Llewyn Davis. Let's jump to our final review, and that is Mud, starring Matthew McConaughey. 10 years ago, a film called Mud, starring Matthew McConaughey, came out, and this is one of the earlier films of the McConaissance, so let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to Almost Sideways, a place for movie conversation. My name is Adam. Today's conversation should be a rather fun one, and that is talking about a McConaissance film called Mud, starring Matthew McConaughey. Really excited to dive into this movie. I've never seen this. First time watch. Keep that in mind. First time watch of Mud. Now, not a huge film that a lot of people are talking about, but I do remember seeing this poster and wanting to watch this movie for a long time. So I found this at a relatively I think at a pawn shop, and I wanted to talk about it. So I was like, let's take a look at this. This movie is directed and written by Jeff Nichols. I've never seen this movie before again, so make sure you guys jump into that comment section. Let me know what you guys thought of Mud. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube as well, so we can have a good, fun conversation talking about all things movies. Anyway, let's jump into this conversation of Mud. This movie is 2 hours and 10 minutes long. It's PG-13. The synopsis here on IMDb does read, 2 young boys encounter a fugitive and form a pact to help him evade the vigilantes that are on his trail and to reunite him with his true love. Going into this movie, I don't know what I really expected from this. I did not read any synopsis, didn't watch any trailers. I just know the poster and off the Blu-ray, and it's Matthew McConaughey. So he has earned my trust a little bit, especially during this earlier phases of the McConaissance. And I had recently just done another first-time watch last year called Killer Joe. Very dark movie. Really go check that one out. Really great little film there. But anyway, wanting to watch this movie. So I didn't really know who was in this movie. So when the different familiar faces that popped up, I was like, oh, that guy's in it. This guy's in it. First off, this movie stars some really good actors here. We have Matthew McConaughey leading this movie as Mud, but we have Ty Sheridan, a young Ty Sheridan, who plays a 14-year-old boy named Ellis here. Really awesome performance by Ty Sheridan. Never seen him better, actually. Jacob Laughlin plays his friend Neckbone. We got Sam Shepard shows up. We got Reese Witherspoon shows up here. We got Ray McKenna. We got Sarah Paulson. Michael Shannon shows up in this movie. And I'm not seeing anybody else. But again, really great actors there. If those actors don't say indie film, I don't know what to tell you there. Being a film so early on in the McConaissance, and Matthew McConaughey being the big focal point on the poster, and the title is based off his character, is the reason why I'm saying you guys should go watch this movie. But that's not the case at all. He's good and really good actor there, but I'm telling you, go watch this movie for a young Ty Sheridan. He is so awesome in this movie. I've never seen this guy any better. He plays this, like I said, 14-year-old boy named Ellis who befriends Mud here and kind of forms a pact with him, and has his friend named Neckbone, but Neckbone, great name. And I love seeing the interactions between Ellis and Neckbone here. Really good. But there's so much going on with Ellis's character here. He didn't just form a bond with Mud here. He also has to deal with the relationship of his parents that are falling apart at home. He has this really awesome interactions with Michael Shannon here. He befriends the neighbor across the street, or across the water, because they live on the river, across the river, played by Sam Shepard. Seeing all these different interactions, and as he has those realizations that Mud's a fugitive, and he's asking these tougher questions at that point, and he also meets a girl as well, and he wants the people who have feelings for each other to be together, and he is so expressive with his eyes, and a lot of that innocence comes out in it, but it also kind of, I'm spacing on the word, but kind of adolescence comes out in his eyes too, where he's always questioning something, and you always know that how he's responding is not really what he's thinking. And I feel like that's just a really great way. You find a great actor with great um, emotions, and that he emotes with his eyes just by his facial uh, movements is such a fascinating way to tell this story. And I feel like draws you more into the character, and have you kind of, how would you react in those situations, and seeing him interact with Mud and really get to the bottom of emotions at the very end of the film. It's definitely engaging film, and especially his performance is by far one of my favorite child performances that I've seen in a long time. Matthew McConaughey does a really great job bringing this charisma. He's very charismatic in this role. He doesn't have a ton to do. It's like one of his best performances in the Connaissance, but he is just doing his thing, going by being really charismatic, and befriends these two boys and tells this really great story. And he has a really kind of a good redemption arc near the end of the movie. I feel like that movie, it gets a little actiony in near the end, but it still kind of fits the world that Jeff Nichols does tell here. Reese Witherspoon is here, but again, really you're paying attention to Ty Sheridan and Matthew McConaughey. Okay, here these performances are really solid and kind of worth the price of admission. I really like the world that Jeff Nichols does set up here. It's very simple sets, kind of good, like it's kind of perfect pairing with Inside Llewyn Davis, kind of like that. You could play Inside Llewyn Davis songs over the top of this movie, and it would kind of play perfectly. I just talked about Inside Llewyn Davis on a lot of other episodes, so make sure you guys check out the review right above my head there. Really solid little film here. I don't really have anything negative to say. I just think that the ending kind of gets away from it a little bit and feels a little larger than it actually should be. There is a kind of a young romance that does blossom in here, and it kind of, I feel bad for Ty Sheridan in a lot of the emotional moments here. And it's just really solid, really good movie that I really got invested a lot more than I thought I would. Let's go into that box office. The budget for the movie is $10 million. Didn't have a huge budget, but it had a worldwide gross of $32.6 million. Another good profit margin there. And let's jump into those awards. No Oscar love for this movie. Didn't think it would necessarily. Let's see what it gets nominated for. The Cannes Film Festival did nominate it for the Palme d'Or for Jeff Nichols here. Best Foreign Film for the ASCAN was nominated there. Austin Film Critics Association gave this 7th place for Best Film, nominated Jeff Nichols as well. Actor of the Year for the Central Ohio Film Critics, for Actor of the Year for Matthew McConaughey for Dallas Buyers Club and The Wolf of Wall Street. This is also tied into Mud as well. And yeah, not a whole lot of nominations, or there's a lot of nominations, not enough wins there, but solid movie there that I'm glad I definitely did watch. All right, well, that's my quick takes on Mud. There's not a whole lot to say about that movie, like I said, but it's a really solid movie by Jeff Nichols. You guys should check it out if you guys haven't. I guess I didn't say this at the beginning of the podcast, but make sure you guys check the show notes down below to find out where these films are streaming, so you guys can check them out as well. Again, next week we're doing 1988. We are talking about Akira and Beetlejuice. And that's going to tie into a Steven Spielberg watch. We're back to Steven Spielberg. I'm trying to get better. Ready Player One. We're doing Ready Player One because Akira and the bike from Akira, I never watched that movie, by the way, appears in Ready Player One, and Beetlejuice, the Avatar Beetlejuice, does show up in Ready Player One. So it's fitting that they're all tied together. I'm really creative. Yay. But really excited to watch Akira next week. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. As always, make sure you guys subscribe and leave us a comment on the podcast. So anyway, until next time, see you later.